afternoon, everybody. A very warm welcome to Dr. C. N. Ramchandra, sir, all university faculty members, and my dear students. Before I take pleasure of introducing our webinar speaker, please allow me to express my gratitude to Dr. Ramchandra, sir, for accepting our request to deliver a webinar for Parul University. Thank you so much, sir. Sir is going to deliver a webinar on how to spread your novel ideas to start a startup in biotech, life science, and biopharma with live examples. So, students, it is a matter of honor and great privilege for us to have Dr. Ramchandra sir as today's speaker. It will take a lot of time if I talk about Sir's versatile personality and his astonishing work in the field of research and his achievement as an extremely successful businessman. In short, I would like to share the key glance of Dr. Ramchandra Sir's profile. Currently, Sir is the President and CEO of Saxon Life Sciences Private Limited and Mac Genome Labs Private Limited Coaching. He is also key advisor to several companies, including MedGenome, Terragen Life Science, and director in Tejo Engineering and Excel Limited, Chennai. Students, the list is so long and it continues. So, without wasting any time now, I would welcome our webinar speaker, Dr. C. N. Ramchandra, sir. Sir, please, I would request you to proceed for the same.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Yeah, okay. And the slides can be seen, I think.
Yes, sir. It's visible as well.
Yeah. I've just made it in full screen.
Yes,
And thank you. A special thanks to Parul University and Parul Institute of Applied Sciences. And a special thanks also to Dr. Farah and all students and staff, those who are attending. This is the second in series that I am giving. If you remember, I have given a talk on July that was on COVID, all related to development of molecular diagnostics and antibody-based therapeutics for COVID-19.
Yes.
After that, I also got COVID 12 months back. So now I'm back to normal.
Hope you are doing well, sir.
Yes, perfectly fine. Perfectly, no problem. Anyway, Happy New Year to everybody. Now, today I'm going to talk on how to spread your novel ideas to start a startup in biotech, life sciences, biopharma. And there are some live examples also given, especially we have 5 or 6 startups are there, very successful startup. But then I realized that, the time is not sufficient. So I mean, I have to finish by 15 minutes. So probably the very initial preliminary parts I will give. Subsequent to that, you can ask questions. And if you want a full workshop sometime later, or maybe whenever the COVID finishes, I would be happy to come and give a full presentation on how to start a startup. So you will be able to hear some few things right now. And if you really see in this slide, you can see multiple different companies over here. See, we have few more companies, and these are all located in Chennai. We have 2 facilities here. We also have a facility in Cochin, Bangalore, San Francisco, Toronto, etc. So I represent Saxon Life Sciences, Terragen Life Sciences, Terragen Biologics, also Mac Genome, and few more companies, MedGenome and Genome, etc. I'm also an advisor. But the interesting thing is that these are all startup companies, started with few people and with an idea and brought it to the level. And MedGenome is a quite big company. About 600, 700 people are working. And spanning all over India, we have multiple places our services are going on. MedGenome. Saxon Life Sciences is in the final stage of the development of a drug, which is currently being out-licensed to 2 different companies, one for India and another one for North America and Europe. So probably one of the first molecule to from India as a biologics novel molecule coming out. This is for macular degeneration. The same way, MacGenome is a company which has started from various universities, including MS University, Shanghai University, and many other overseas university. I had many PhD students also worked on this technology. Now we translated this entire technology into products and a very successful company. Um, Now, what I want to give it to you, how to start a company as an idea when you have an idea, how to develop into a company, and quite a lot of things are there to initially to understand, to set up, and to initiate a company. So we are talking about life companies in life sciences or related area. The first thing I want to tell you about an entrepreneur. Probably there is a very subtle difference between a businessman, an industrialist, and an entrepreneur. So the first thing is that you need to understand who is an entrepreneur or what exactly he is doing. And various types of explanations are there. You can go through the internet. Now, you can also see there are few people I have given, and I am 100% sure that all of you know these people. If you see the first, all these people are first generation entrepreneurs. That's very important. Now, the very first person is Jeff Bezos. You know that he is the richest in the world, probably $150 billion, and he set up Amazon, a new idea is a market leader for how to is a service company. The next one, you know, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook. We never knew what exactly is like, spread your ideas or, discuss with other people and your video or whatever it is, which came to all of us probably 15 years back. And I am using an iPhone, an iPad, etc. It's all developed by Apple. And you can see Steve Jobs, again, a first-time entrepreneur. The fourth person, of course, Microsoft. So everyone knows him. And the last one is Elon Musk, that Tesla. He has multiple very interesting companies he has developed. And the Tesla is one of the most successful. SpaceX is another one. You can go to space. So if you really see here, they started from nothing with an idea and developed, translated their idea into a product or a service or a technology. And you can also see the huge amount of money they developed. But one interesting thing is that none of these people won't spend their money lavishly. You can also see, for example, Warren Buffett spends 99% of your income for charities. That's an interesting thing. Underneath, you can see three, whether industrialists or entrepreneurs or businessmen from India. From Baroda, Dilip Sanghvi. He was my boss for 5 years. I was vice president and head of drug discovery at Sun Pharmaceuticals. A person who started with 10,000 rupees, a company 35 years back. Now one of the largest company, probably one of the largest generic company in the world, and also into drug discovery development. Based at Baroda, Bombay, and it is spanning all over the world now. Probably Sun Pharma has got about $6 to $7 billion sales is there, and he became one of the richest Indian 3 years back. Not now, probably fourth or fifth. Verghese Kurian, that he is the milkman of probably Gujarat or India, who is from Kerala and set up his facility in Anand. And of course, the last one, Ambani. From nothing, he brought such an empire. So I'm just giving some idea about what exactly is the first-time entrepreneurs and how they have brought up the business and their vision. And if you see, there are three different types of explanations are given. Who is an entrepreneur? Someone who envisions, creates, and executes an idea that they are absolutely crazy about. The idea can be a product, process, service, technology, etc. There are few more explanations are given. Who is an entrepreneur? What's an entrepreneurship? Someone who mixes passion. It's very important that you need to have a passion, whatever you are doing. There should be some kind of innovation should be there. Right? Otherwise, your idea can't be made a big thing. and a drive to turn vision into a working business. The most important thing is that you need to have that drive to drive your passion to a service or a product. Someone with the drive, persistence, and mindset to change the world by filling a need in the marketplace. That is another explanation what is given. So in all these things, if you have really see, you have to have a passion, you have to have the persistence, you have to have the mindset, you have to have an innovative mind, and you need to have drive. All these things are required, but the most important thing is that you need to have a vision. Convert that vision into a successful business. Now let's see that entrepreneurship in India. You all know that, why US is very successful country in the world. It may not be now, at this point there is a lot of problems are going on, but otherwise it was, or it is still one of the most successful country in the world. Now you can just see this. Now in India, only 5% of adult Indians establish own business. Business means it can be a small shop, it can be agricultural farm, it can be a restaurant, it can be a company or an IT company or whatever it is. 5% is a very small number. That means the remaining 95% of the people who are workable people go into employment. So that's a very small number. So India, if you are talking about 130 crore or 1.3 billion, probably half of it is women and half it's men. And if you also see the working time is between 20 and 60, that is normally considered as a 40-year period. So in India, for example, 70% of the women or 80% of the women do not work, they stay at home. Then the remaining people, out of that only 5% work. So that's a very small number. And one interesting thing is that only 1 to 2% of students are only interested in entrepreneurship. If you ask the students, they will all want to go as a doctor, engineer, scientist, IAS officer, or some kind of jobs everybody wants to take it up. The reason is that taking up a job, probably you don't need to too much worry about the future. But then if you are going for entrepreneurship, you will have to go through a lot of struggles. That could be one of the reasons. So this is a report which has come very recently, 2018. So there is a magazine, Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, they have published this one. Now, if you also see USA versus India, the startup comparison, just see this. More than 1 million new ventures were started in the US in 2018. 1 million entrepreneurship or 1 million business proposals are there. Currently, USA has got about 27 million entrepreneurs, successful or, entrepreneurship is going on. So many businesses are there. So what is the population? 330 million people are only there. So out of that, almost 10% of the people are in entrepreneurship. And imagine 1 million businesses started. If you really go to any university, you can see that so many companies are coming out from a university. There is a translational research program is there, every university. Now this entrepreneurship or how to start a business, everything in India came probably last 10 or 15 years back only. Always business was there. But the new entrepreneurship or novel ideas translate into industry that is just coming to India, especially that, the last 10 years, Make in India slogan started coming. Now, just see that the number of startup started in India in 2008 is only 1,200. See the number, which is only 1% what US is doing. Extremely small number, not even 1%. And this is reported by Economic Times. So why these problems? The problem is that there are multitude of problems are there in India. Now, if you see, I don't think any parents would like to give their girl to get married to a person who is starting an industry, an entrepreneur. They know that the chances of failure is very high. That could be one of the reasons. And always there was a lack of respect than somebody who is going for a good job. Education loan is another problem because people go to education, take degree, higher studies, they have to take bank loans and they will have to give back this loan. So if you have to give back this loan, it will become very difficult for them to start a startup. Stay-at-home spouse. This is another very big problem. I always tell one thing that if someone wants to start a startup, one of them, husband, wife, girlfriend, wife, whatever it is, one of them should work, the other should go and start a startup. The reason is that they won't have a problem, the later period, monetary problem. So even if your startup is not picking up, there is someone to support you. So it's very important to do that, both should be involved in the prospects, business prospects or entrepreneurship program. Academic block, that is another problem because, when you are going to academia, studying, we are never taught how to start, only recently I started seeing this. But how to start, anybody is taught in any of this thing, even I don't think, very rarely in business schools they are not taught. Because people have to start planning and initiate. But it is very important that, in the academia, this has to be initiated. Mindset of the society. Society thinks that somebody who is starting with an industry, without not much money going into business, that he is going to be a failure. Because, the rate of success is not that great in entrepreneurship, which I will explain to you later. But then, eventually, somebody who gets into entrepreneurship, they will never look back. They would like to continue with that. Fear of failure, that's another major reason that nobody wants to go because they are worried that, the success rate is not that high. Lack of startup advice, the major problem. There is no one to advise, and family liability. So these are the main reasons that why entrepreneurship is not that popular in India. Now you can just see these three people, two of them are Indian, a businessman, an industrialist, and an entrepreneurship. There is, as I mentioned, this is just to make you understand what is the difference between a businessman, an industrialist, entrepreneur. It's actually very subtle difference. These are all probably can be grouped into one and same, but realistically there is a difference. It says that businessman need not be an innovative person. He might put X amount of money and he needs to make more money out of it and grow the business. And he is normally a market player. What exactly people need, based on that, he develops his business. An industrialist is considered as a conglomerate of prospects of making very large industrial houses, like, production houses. It can be chemical industry, pharmaceutical industry, or agricultural farms, those type of things. Industrialists and employ a lot of people, whereas an entrepreneur is with an idea with virtually little money, but starts or converts his idea and vision into a product, process, application, and develop a company. That's what the difference between these three. So what is the difference between a businessman and versus an entrepreneur? So a few things I have mentioned. Starts a business from an existing idea or concept. That's what a businessman does. For example, somebody who does a restaurant or a group of restaurants or hotels or travel, these people can be considered as a businessman. Or travel agency or bus service, taxi service, any of these things. The reason is that that is already an existing thing. On the other hand, an entrepreneur starts a business from his own unique idea or concept. So he will be having his own idea, a novel idea, something very different, which is otherwise not a patentable idea. Now, a businessman focuses on the cooperation of the people, and on the other hand, of course, in the case of entrepreneur also, he focuses on the cooperation. A businessman, it can be very traditional way of doing things, but on the other hand, an entrepreneur, very innovative and revolutionary. A businessman stays safe, but an entrepreneur has to be a big risk taker. but of course he will be accountable. Always a businessman will be looking forward to make profits. That is his sole goal. He is looking for how much operating profit, that means running a business at the end of the year, what type of operating profit, for example, 10%, 20%, 30%, that's what. So he uses the money, he circles the money, make profit, and that's what a businessman does. But that is not exactly an entrepreneur does. So he likes to employ more people, is highly employee oriented, and his main idea is, as I mentioned, to convert ideas and vision into a prospective, possible business proposal. Now, a businessman hires people to increase business productivity. On the other hand, entrepreneur hire people to give them productivity. He is a market player, businessman, and on the other hand, an entrepreneur is a business leader. Now, there is nothing like unraveling the full human potential when you start a startup. I'll tell you, I have my own experience and example. You need to know multitude of things if you start a company. For example, ours is a biotech company. You need to know biotech. You need to know how to set up a company. You need to know finance. You need to know how to build a team. You need to know how to hire the people. No, you also need to know how to design a lab. So there is so many things are there. Then you need to know to discover your product, develop the product, to test the product, commercialize the product. So what I want to tell is that, is so much to learn, so much to understand, and there is nothing as much to unravel the full potential of a human being. That is basically how when you are starting a startup. Now, what exactly is the P of a startup? Now, if you are starting a company, you need to have a full passion. Don't get into a business proposal, start a business without a full passion into that. For example, a doctor, of course, becoming a doctor, fine, he can go for an employment. The other thing is that if his passion is to serve people, he can start a hospital. That is passion. There should be a purpose should be there. Purpose is what? Purpose in life. For example, in this case, the purpose will be to serve the people. So he has a profession, which is a doctor, the passion, serve the people, and purpose that help the humanity. So this is what is called the P of startups. So you need to have all these three things. Some kind of profession when you are doing your business or your entrepreneurship, and your passion, and your purpose also is there. So make sure that all these three things are there. Now, what are the major elements of success? Now, there was an interesting survey was done a few years back in the US, where what they have done is that, many entrepreneurship, about 100 very successful companies they looked into, and another 100 which failed, but all started maybe in the similar time. So 200 companies survey they have done. So as I mentioned, 100 was successful and 100 did not succeed, failed. But all had a kind of vision, mission, and team, ideas, business model, everything. Now, finally, they came to the conclusion. These 5 things are very important for a success of the company, success of the entrepreneurship. An idea, very important. You need to have a great team, a good business model. You need to be having funding and the right time. For example, the right time means if you start an IT company right now, you cannot make it as successful as Wipro or TCS or Infosys. If you really see, 25 years back, that was the start of IT revolution, and few people started like Infosys or TCS, and how big company, one of the maximum people are employed in these companies. So timing is very important. Now, you might be thinking, many people have no idea what is the most important thing. Now the survey came out, it is not the funding, it is not the business model, it is not the idea. Two important things came out. Your team is very important and the right timing. What time you are starting? In the sense means, if already there is thousands and thousands of restaurant is there, let's say in Baroda, if there is no fund in going and starting another restaurant, that's not the time. For example, in Baroda, do not have a non-vegetarian restaurant. If you start a non-vegetarian restaurant, because at least 20% people are non-vegetarians there. There is a possibility. So it is very important that you know the timing of an industry, what you are starting. Right now, for example, everybody is thinking about, you know, the energy conservation and thinking about, you know, that electric car, and you can get the electricity from other sources. So maybe a good idea, and everybody is expecting next 15, 20 years, all the cars will be converted to not petrol, not diesel, but electrically driven car. So timing is very important, whatever you are doing. But interestingly, the most important thing which came out as the team, let me tell you, the team you are setting up to start a company is the most important thing. You need to have a team where 3, 4, 5, you need to have somebody who will be taking care as the CEO, somebody taking care of science, finance, and this team should work together. Subsequently, you need to hire a team, no infighting, they should support each other, they should respect each other. So it's very important to have the team. Of course, then business model and funding, etc. is also important. But another interesting thing is that all other things are fitting well, you will get the funding. Funding is the least important, in the sense means comparatively easy to get. Now, a team building ability is very important. A skillful team, a good attitude, and adaptable to the situation. So these are some of the important things which you have to look into when you are starting a company. Right time, what type of industry you want to start. And you need to have a right team to do that. Now, why startup fail? So that's another interesting thing. And the survey has said that no market need. Suppose there is no need in the market, or a lot of players are there, then that is bound to be unsuccessful. So look into a product that do not have much competition. Another thing is that you can't lose the cash in between, because if you have planned for 3 years to develop and and commercialize, you need to have that cash should continue, continuous flow should be there. In between cash finishes, then everything will collapse. And if you do not have a right team, definitely the company is going to fail. Get out-competed. That means some other company comes up with a much better product is a problem. Cost issues. Make sure that the product that you are developing is cost-effective, or comparatively lesser cost, but a better product. Then people produce user-unfriendly product, that will be an unsuccessful product without business model, then poor marketing, ignore customers, and products mismatch. So these are some of the problems why many of the startups fail. Now, another interesting correlation has come up. What is the age? What is the best age to start? Now, interestingly, the survey has mentioned 40 to 45. Anybody who starts at the age of 40 to 45, 60, 70% of the chances is success is very high. But at a lower age, when you are 20, the probability to fail is very high. So is the case if you are starting 70 plus thing. It does not mean that, Kentucky Fried Chicken, that person started at the age of 65, made one of the most successful entrepreneurship or company. So what I want to tell is that, there is a correlation, but it doesn't matter. The most important thing is that even if you fail at an early stage, your experience, that failure, what you have made, that type of experience will be extremely useful at a later period. Now, how to start a startup? What are the requirements? So, three most important thing is that basic idea is some kind of research finding. So, it is very, very important this research finding as far as life sciences, pharma, biotech, agri foods, these type of life sciences companies are concerned, especially diagnostics and related things. Now you need to have some kind of capital and infrastructure is required. So you need to have a place. That's why a lot of incubation centers are coming in. All over India, all over the world, there is a lot of incubation center. They help you, support you. And they sometimes support with capital also. As I mentioned, team is the most important. Identify the right team you can work with. Don't expect that you can work alone and you can work in isolation. Make sure that you develop a very good team. Now, how you can get the funding? So, is the most important thing. Let me tell you, as far as India is concerned, comparatively, the funding for startups are much less compared to what you can see in the US or Europe. The possibility to getting funds is extremely high over there. Now, there are two types of funding. In India, a lot of government fundings are there, especially with BRAC, DBT, DST. There is a lot of kind of angel funding or initial funding or VC funding is there, but may not be a huge amount of money, a decent amount of money to start with. But otherwise, everyone goes to venture funding, and there are multiple types of venture funding is there, which I have mentioned. Now, one of the type of venture funding, if it is not government, friends, family, or fools, or angel investor. Why mentioning as fools is that people think that those who are putting money into a startup, only fools will invest. The reason is that 9 out of 10 startups worldwide statistics show is a failure. But you do not worry that 1% success, that 10% success is more than sufficient to make up. But then eventually that experience, the failure experience also, you can go into other things. And you are not losing any money, but then that experience, sometimes part of the product would have been developed, and you can take to the next stage. So you can always go to your friends or parents and get some money. If your parents are only rich, then ask for them, otherwise no. There is another category called angel investors out there. Angel investors normally come into picture when your proposal is very risky, very early stage. The possibility of success is not that high. That's the time they invest money. But normally a very large amount of money, a very small amount of money and large chunk of your company takes up. So those are angel investors. Normally these angel investors are somebody who is with a lot of money and they want to invest with an eye to judge high risk investments. So please remember, all these investments are for high risk. That means the success rate will be less, risk is high, but if it is successful, it will become very, very big. If you want to start a restaurant, nobody will fund you. A VC will never fund you. But if you are wanting to develop a drug molecule, which we have original idea, some molecule is there, the chances of getting funding is high, because if they believe that drug can be successful, then 1 million can, or 10 million can become billions. That's the thing. Then there is something called financial VCs. The VC can be, as I mentioned, your family, friends, angel investors. Financial VCs are a formal investment firm, capital raised from institutions and individuals. What they do is that, collect money from other people or a lot of people, and they work on behalf of probably hundreds of institutions, and they fund to companies or startup companies. So that is financial basis. There's another group called strategic VC, in which what they do is that big companies will be having such strategic VC possibilities, in which what they do is that the companies, some of the wanting to develop technology, then they will fund for other startup or entrepreneurs the money, and they can develop the product, process, application, technology, which is relevant to that company. So this is what is called strategic VCs. And if you see, Google has got such strategic VCs. You might have heard that, Google might be investing in some of the pharmaceutical companies. The same way, IBM, Intel, they all have such similar strategic, alliances are there. Then I mentioned about angel investors. So what they do, typically have substantial cash to invest. They normally would have already invested, made 100 times. For example, their 1 million would have become 100 million. Maybe that would have been converted to a billion. Such people, what they do is that, invest into high risk but high return investments, initially invest, and most likely have tech industry background. Normally, many of these people might be having some kind of industry exposure will be there. Make small investment in very initial phases. When your company is at the initial stage, 2 or 3 people, they invest money, but they will take always 30-40% of the company. And they will try to take majority of the company if your company is successful, because it is owned by them. So if you have any possibility initially to invest, if your proof of concept is ready, don't go to an angel investor. So make the proof of concept, go to a VC, then what will happen? You can give 10%, 20% of the company and get the money. And why they are doing this? To help entrepreneurs, using their own skills and experiences to help build business, giving back to community, high risk but high returns on investments. So what they are looking is that they know that they are getting into a very high risk investment, but if they're successful, they can make big money. And how do they earn money? For example, after investing, there are multiple ways. They get an equity. That equity means part of the company, the shares. The shares can be sold at any time, they can make money. There is something called initial public offering. So means after the product is developed, or at the stages of development, or at the stages of commercialization, you can offer the equity to public. That is what is called the IPO. So what will happen? The initial investors can get a huge amount of money because of their stocks they are holding. If nothing is there, they can hold on to their equity and they can make profit when the company makes profit. And how this angel investing process is done? It is going through a multitude of processes, submissions, screening, etc. So what you need to do is a proposal, normally a 10, 15, 20 slide proposal. So it goes through a pre-screening. That means they will initially decide, okay, this is something interesting to them. Then they will go for a full screening of the project proposal, then go for a due diligence. Due diligence means they will look into the data, each and everything. It's a large number of, right now we are going through a due diligence for Saxon. So we have to submit the entire development and discovery and development platform, all the documents, the company, and the company will be having the other company where they want to in-license the product. They will be having a team of scientists, financial people, and quality control, quality assurance, production people to go through the documents to make sure that everything is fine. Then you need to have an investment presentation. What's the type of money you want and how many years it will work? At what time your second set of investment is ready, or third set of Series A, Series B, Series C. All those details you will have to give. Then follow-up discussions and meetings and closing down. So this is the normal in angel investing process. Now, what is the success statistics? Do not worry about it, the success statistics, because you might have to, sometimes if you are very lucky, very good product, your proof of concept is very good, your documentation is extremely good, presentation is very good, very first time you will be successful. Otherwise, only they will select 1 in 4 in the screening process, pre-screening, then it will go for screening, then it will be about 1 in 3 will go for due diligence, then 1 in 3 to the investors meeting, then 1 in 2 raise money, and overall 1 in 72. So that means if 72 projects come, one will be successful. Please do not worry that we are talking about one investor. So like that, you can go to hundreds of investors. Whatever is the idea, eventually you can get money. But normally the success rate is 1 in 10. That means 9 out of 10 will be failed. But please do not worry. What you are learning, if you are failed startup, so the first thing is that you learned, gained lot of knowledge. You understood in the next time where you have failed, what is the success mantra. So now what will happen? The failed company will be taken over by someone else also. So you will get part of the money also. You may not lose 100% money, but eventually you are getting a very good experience to go for the next set. And please remember, there is nothing wrong. Everyone knows that startups fail, and that is not a negative thing when you are going to the next investor. How to pitch an investor? So quite a lot is there. I will just very quickly go through. Investor pitch means you have to go and present in front of an investor, and what all things should cover. It should cover, like there is something called elevator pitch. Elevator pitch means, in 30 seconds, you will have to give an idea, what you want to develop. And in that 30 seconds, the investor should get an understanding what this person is going to do. Then you will have to tell the problem. What is the problem? An existing problem, but there is a solution. It could be with a technology or with a process or an application. Then you have to also mention what is your business model, tractions and projections. What is your projections? What are your tractions? And what is the market opportunity for the process or product or service you are developing? Then competition and substitutes slide. So you need to show what is the competition, where the competition is coming. And very important that you know how you are going to overcome the competition. The most important thing is how you are going to develop the product and regulatory slides. All life sciences product, there is a regulatory issues will be there. We are talking about drugs, pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, genomics technology, diagnostics, agricultural foods, supplements. Everywhere there is a regulatory from minimal to maximum. The highest amount of regulatory requirement is in the drug discovery and development process when you are going for the phase 1 trial or during the clinical trials and commercialization process. IPR is very important. Unless you have an IPR, many people are reluctant to put money. The reason is that they always think that if you have filed an IPR, a provisional patent PCT, then the chances of repeating by someone else is much less. Leadership is another important thing. Then investor exit and time frame slide. So most important thing is that how many years the first person, the angel investor or the VC investor can get out. 3 years, 5 years, and what type of money they can get. 5 times, 10 times, 100 times. So that's very important. And potential risk and mitigations. You always will have to mention what are the risks involved, but how you are planning to mitigate that one, a summary. So I'm not going to discuss about more about this one. As I mentioned that, these are these 12 points are very, very important when you are making presentation. Make sure that it should not go more than 15 minutes, maybe 20, 25 slides. So I have mentioned briefly about what is an elevator pitch, how to propose your problem, what is your technology product solution slide, what is the market opportunity, what is your business model and projections, and what is the competition and substitute slides, what is your product development and regulatory strategy, IPR, and what is your leadership team, how to exit from the company so that the investor can make money, and what is the potential risk and how you can mitigate. Finally, you have to summarize the points you want the audience to remember when they walk away. The novelty of your technology and the unique opportunity of your product. So 2 slides are very important. The very first 30-second slide, the elevator pitch and the summary. So these 2, the investor decides immediately that whether he should go ahead or not. Now I will just briefly tell about some There is out of 63 slides, only 26 has covered. As I mentioned, many are there. Maybe another 4 5 slides, another 10 minutes is there. So I will, few more slides I will finish. Then if you have questions, you can ask. Now, Airbnb, you really go and study a very, very successful company. Everyone knows about Airbnb. So it is back in 2006, it is started. What they want to do is that, there are spare rooms, spare houses, etc., or spare rooms in hotels or such places. How this particular place or space or rooms can be rented to internationally. That was the idea. So that conceived the idea in 2006. So what they did was initially in 2007, they made a website. So the first thing, whoever invested initially $20,000, they thought that, could be a good idea. And that particular person can be considered as an angel investor. I'm sure that 20,000 person invested now might be a billionaire. That is the importance of entrepreneurship. Now, back in 2008, 2009, they added more houses, but still their sales did not pick up. Then what was happened? The owners themselves went, took photos, interacted with the people. They put it in the website, started advertising. The idea really liked by Sequoia. Sequoia is one of the largest VC investor all over the world. And they could point 6 million, $600,000 they raised at that time. Then subsequently, one of the actors, all of you know, Ashton Kutcher, he gave $112 million. Then 2014, it was valued $10 billion. See, imagine the people who started become a billionaire, but imagine what did they spend? Virtually nothing, maybe a few $1,000s. And they developed multiple, probably 400, $500 million over the period, used it. The valuation in 2014 became 10 billion, probably about 20, $25 billion right now. So that is what is called the entrepreneurship. We have our own company, MedGenome. You might have heard about this company. It's a next generation sequencing company. When sequencing was not there in India, that popular, about 10 years back started. Very successful company based at Bangalore. We also have a facility in San Francisco. And currently, we could generate probably about $150 million. Now, probably about 30 million turnover. It's rapidly growing, and about 650 people are working. And this is, in the area of genomics, is a big success story. You all know about Byju's, and all the advertisement you are seeing started in a very modest, with a small amount of 2 lakh rupees, and he is a billionaire now. And all over India, Byju's is very well known. Now, probably some of the other, which is connected to biotechnology, I will explain, and some of, our company is also involved, so you will get some kind of idea. DNA Fit from Prenetics. So DNA Fit is a next generation sequencing company based at Hong Kong. Something similar to MedGenome they are doing, and very successful company. Within 2-3 years, they became probably a $2 million turnover, and the valuation became few $1 billion. So it's a very successful Hong Kong-based company, expanding to all the Far Eastern and Southeastern countries. Then Fit Genetics. This is again a sequencing company, mainly to understand your genome, what your genome is going to do, your diet pattern, your nutritional requirement, your disease and health. 23andMe, the first genomics company, probably about 10-12 years back, started in the US. Now, our company, one of the company, as I mentioned, is MacGenome. We have the product called MacStable, where the saliva can be collected and sequencing can be done. So these are some examples. Probably you can think about doing something like this. Now, how does 23andMe works? So basically, you send that a tube, order a kit online, Then people will have to give the saliva. Now, saliva contains various types of organisms as well as your buccal cells. So you can isolate the DNA and you can study whether DNA or RNA, viral DNA, microbial RNA, microbial DNA, all these can be isolated, whichever you want to do. If you want to study that your oral cavity has some kind of cancer, that also you can do. So one is the general genomics to understand your genome pattern. So you can use, this 23andMe, this is what they are doing. Then these samples will go to a clear accredited laboratory and they will do the sequencing. Then this will be downloaded into the website. You will be able to see. So you can have an overview about your health. Then you from this sequencing data, you will be able to understand the type of relatives or what they are holding or where your relations are there. Then ancestry. What is your ancestry? Are you really from India, or you are any other Spanish connection, African connection, American connection? Those type of things. The ancestry can be there. But most importantly, what type of nutritional supplements you should take. There is an area called nutrigenomics. How nutritional sensors or some nutritional product or extracts. So how that interacts with your genome, how the transcription and translation is affected. Your diet, what type of diet you should take. More of carbohydrates or more of proteins, or you need to be supplemented with essential fatty acids or amino acids. Those type of things you will be able to get. Then what type of lifestyle diseases and other diseases. You might be able to get this cancer. You can get diabetes, or you can get obesity, or you can get metabolic diseases. These type of things you can get. Then how does it work? The first thing is that direct to consumer genetics. So they will be able to give the sequence, and you can understand all about your problems. Then the second thing is that research services. This company can do research services. Many pharmaceutical biotech companies are interested to get the data from them. Then drug companies wanting to know, especially for novel drug targets. So they will be able to help in giving such novel targets. So basically, such genomics company will have multitude of applications. Now, another thing what you can think is about DNA banking biorepository. One of the easiest way earlier was cord blood was there, the normal blood was there, serum or saliva. So now we are talking about saliva, because saliva is easy to collect, but then your genome is there, your buccal cells are there. A lot of industrial applications are there, individual advantages are there. Industrial applications or advantages are mainly for pharmacogenomics and personalized medicine. You will be able to understand, identify the type of genome, and you will be able to tell what type of medicine, what type of dose you will have to take. The same way, individual advantages like DNA banking for genomic analysis. At any time, you can analyze the gene, forensic purposes, paternity testing. So multitude possibilities are there. So this is what DNA biorepository. So this is the workflow, what we are doing exactly over here. So what you can see is that, the saliva collection devices. So we send it to people, they collect the saliva. If they are interested to sequence, they will send to us or MedGenome or other places. So we extract the DNA. We can also extract the RNA. Right now we have developed a similar thing for RNA extraction, the nasopharyngeal swabs. So we have developed a viral transfer medium, molecular transfer medium, RNA extraction, and RT-PCR kit. So this is an example of how DNA banking, how that can be used, and what are the possibilities. Now I'm just giving few simple startup ideas. Do not have the time to explain, but I will just tell. As I mentioned, I would be very, very happy at any time to come to your place, give a 3-4 hour or half a day or 1 day workshop, how to start a startup, and explain each and everything, especially how to form the company initial part. even naming of the company, registering the company, trademarks, many of these things, and patent, how to write the patent, all these things many people are not aware of, will be able to give a class. So there is agri clinics are there. The what exactly is agri clinic? I mentioned the biodiesel production, biofertilizers, biopesticide, biodegradable plastics. Probiotics is a big thing, and opportunity is very high. Making platelet-rich plasma for injection. This is another opportunity. Aloe vera production plant. These are some of the recently funded biotech ideas. There are a lot of small biotechs which has been funded by government or other people, and the details are given. So C6 Energy, Invictus Oncology, Mitra Biotech, Temputics, and Cellworks. In the pharmaceutical, if there is a pharmaceutical company, they can't do the entire thing. So at least 20 to 30 domains they will have to give outside. But this clinical research organizations or contract research organization where you can do BAB, bioavailability, bioequivalence, or clinical evaluation. Then the manufacturing, contract manufacturing organization. Then under GLP, animal testing, CGMP, current manufacturing possibilities, good clinical practice, contract analytical laboratories. So if you see any pharma, biotech, agri-foods, or generic company, ANDA company, biologics company, everywhere there is a support service required. If your expertise is in one particular area, set up a company. There is opportunities are very high. Only thing is that such companies cannot become very big, but you can run a company, make decent amount of money. So these are some of our company profiles which we have developed from startup. About at least 10 different startups we have done, all successful. So since time is over, I think you can ask questions. I wanted also 5 real examples of what we are doing.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for your such in-depth and informative webinar, right? We have a lot of questions from the students, but obviously due to time constraint, I'll be, putting forward 3 to 4 questions from the students. The very first question from one student is that basically, which are the funding agencies to provide financial aid to the students, sir?
Right. If you really go to DST, there are multiple. For example, big grant. There is between 10 lakhs to 1 crore grants are available if you go with a good idea, and every now and then you will be able to see advertisement regarding that. So one requirement is that you also have to have a collaboration with a university to develop the product. So initially you may not be having anything. So make sure that you have a facility, or at least that access to an incubation facility, and also make sure that you come out with a very good idea, which could be theoretical or some experience. The research findings that you have done during your studies. So there is ample opportunity. There are a lot of individuals are ready to give you fund you, but your idea has to be very good. I would suggest start discussing with people. Maybe initially you may not be able to come out with an extremely good idea. You need some experience. But my suggestion is that the best way to go ahead is that go and join if you get an opportunity in a startup company, which could be in the life sciences, pharma, biotech, or diagnostics, or medical devices. Some of these companies, because right now hundreds of companies there, rather than going and joining in a big company, you will be much better off in joining in a startup, but you will learn enormously. May not be that successful company, but the learning curve is extremely high. So then go with your plan and approach some investors, government. Yeah.
Okay, so another question I am having from one student is that which organization to be approached by the student to share the novel ideas to start up, like kind of having a proper generalization. What would be the proper generalization process for that?
See, one of the thing is that if you are planning about the government, as I mentioned, multiple agencies are there. So I have mentioned few grant opportunity. At least 8 to 10 grants are possible. The second possibility is that there are many investors are interested in very good idea. So you will be able to get that. But comparatively, these are less. If you are approaching in the US, there is tremendous possibilities there. So these are called angel investors. Angel investors are that common in India, but then in the US it is quite high. So here, what you need to do is that start. If you have a proof of concept, well and good, then you can apply. If it is not there, go to the family and friends, collect the money, or if you have your own funding, that can be done. So make sure that you reach up to proof of concept, then go to the investors.
Okay,
You
sir. So I
can't
would like.
get money from bank. So this has to be this type of angel investors, VC investors, government funding, BRAC, big grant. So at least about 8 to 10 granting agencies are there. Please approach them.
Okay, sir. So the last question I will be addressing from the student is that basically which are the recent or I would say emerging fields to start a startup in this era as of now?
If you are talking about life sciences area, don't get into drug discovery because it's a very complex thing. Go into simple things initially. Supplements, nutraceuticals, agricultural support, agricultural, um, pet foods, pet supplements, nutrigenomics, anything connected to genomics area, diagnostics, medical devices. So these are some very good area. Of course, I am just talking very general way, but as I mentioned, I would be very happy whenever it is possible next time to explain to you one by one what exactly can be done with specific examples. Generally, you will be able to understand.
Okay, sure, sir. Okay, so due to time constraints, sir, I would like to conclude it. Thank you so much, sir, for your such an informative and in-depth webinar on basically how to spread your novel ideas to start a startup in biotech, life science, and biopharma with live examples. I'm very sure that students must have gained a valuable insight from this webinar. I am much grateful to you, sir, for taking out time from your busy schedule to share your expertise with our Parole students. Thank you once again, sir. And I really am hoping that after your inspiring talk, we have many more entrepreneurs budding from our own India. Thank you so much, sir. And with this, I would like to conclude the webinar and thank you everyone for your kind cooperation. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to Parle University, Parle Institute, and to you, Dr. Farhad, and all the students who are attending. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our privilege, sir. Thank you.
I can disconnect now, no?
Yes, yes, definitely, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Bridget, sir, am I audible, sir? Bridget, sir, thank you so much for providing me the opportunity to having a webinar. Thank you so much, sir.